should the U.S. itself take serious action? I want to get reaction for that from my distinguished guests. Let's bring in our friend Mort Zuckerman, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief of U.S. News and World Report, and Frank Gaffney of the Center for Security Policy. Frank's a former Assistant Secretary of Defense under President Reagan. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Mort, if I may begin with you, Peter King today, Congressman King of Long Island, a very distinguished national security congressman, regards this as an act of war and wants the United States to take action. What's your response to Peter King?
Well, it all depends what action we're talking about. This isn't an act of war in the normal sense of it, but it is clearly a violation of our sovereignty and obviously is an attempt to stir up trouble between the United States and Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia being sort of the main obstacle to the extension of Iranian influence in a lot of parts of that of the Middle East. So this is an absolutely outrageous effort on the part of Iran to play the game in the worst of all possible ways. We will have to take action. I don't think it'll be in the sense of seems to be implied. It's not going to be a war or an act of war on our part. We'll have to find some ways to retaliate.
Frank Gaffney, what sort of actions would be appropriate in light of the fact that if the story is correct and the Iranians took these actions working through drug lords in Mexico, but it was on our soil, Frank, does that change the game? Does that raise the stakes?
Larry, I believe that we've been at war with Iran since 1979, when the Ayatollah Khomeini's regime began killing American diplomats and Marines and an awful lot of other people in the years since. This is simply the latest in a series of these episodes. It's not even the first time that they've attacked somebody on American soil. They did that back in the 80s. But this is a new indicator, I believe, of where Iran will go once it has nuclear weapons. It's probably very close to having them, and when that's the case, I believe that what we've now been witnessing of late, both in Iraq and in Afghanistan and in Lebanon and in other parts of the Persian Gulf, and now here, is just a foretaste of the kind of aggressive and increasingly violent and dangerous behavior this country will engage in under this regime. Therefore, it seems to me that it is imperative that we take action against this regime of the kind that I've not wanted to take to this point, which is violent.
Just be brief. What kind of action? And I'll get more to react to it.
I personally think that we've got to stop them from obtaining the nuclear capabilities they aspire to, and to try, to the extent we can, to break the kind of control that the regime exercises over its population. Right. They're our best hope, is the people of Iran. They need to be freed.
All right, Mort Zuckerman, can we stop the nuclear development? Is that where we should go on this? Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is talking about tougher sanctions. Maybe we'll get more support in the Middle East from that. Maybe we won't. The sanctions game, I don't think, is all that effective. Can we actually stop them? Should we aim to stop them in their nuclear development? Is that the answer to this crazy plot over the Saudi ambassador assassination?
Much as I would like to stop Iran from developing and obtaining nuclear weapons, I really don't think that is a feasible thing. What we would have to do under those circumstances, to the extent that we can't do it through covert actions, and I doubt if we can, we would have to get involved in some serious weaponry and attacks on Iran, and that is something, it seems to me, that is a bridge too far. We are already involved in a war in Afghanistan, which is about all we can handle. We are already involved with Iraq in various ways, and as was pointed out, Iran is trying to destabilize Iraq. Perhaps one of the great mistakes we made was to undermine the capacity of Iraq to be a counterbalance to Iran. Another great mistake was that we never took much of an active voice in the fact at the moment when there were hundreds of thousands of people in Tehran, you know, sort of protesting the regime.
Right.
So we have very few options, it seems to me, and we're not going to take major war actions against them.
Frank Gaffney, might Saudi Arabia take major actions? What's the Saudi Arabia? After all, it was their ambassador, our soil, but their ambassador. Allegedly, the Saudis are furious. You have President Obama talking to King Abdullah. What are the Saudis going to do, Frank?
They might jerk the Iranians around if they can, in OPEC or in other ways, try to punish the regime, but they don't have the means to really prevent the Iranians from going where they want to go, which is to become the hegemon of the region. And I don't disagree with what Mort Zuckerman has said. This is going to be dangerous. This is going to be difficult. This is going to be almost certainly very destructive, including probably of things that we care about in the region and maybe even here. My concern, Larry, is this will be infinitely worse once a regime with this kind of behavior already established is now further emboldened by having what they think of as a nuclear umbrella.
You just hit the key word. The thought I had, and I'm no expert, Mort Zuckerman, I'll give you the last word. Are they becoming emboldened now? Is there going to be more on our soil? If this story turns out to be correct, there's a certain insanity to them coming on our soil, Mort. We can't let them get away with it.
Well, I agree with that. I suppose there is one other alternative. I mean, I really hesitate to propose it, but there's another country that has a great interest in taking out their nuclear capabilities, and we probably could provide them with enough additional assistance and enough support that they might do it, and that, of course, is Israel. We've just given them the bunker buster bombs, which, of course, is going to help in that process, but there are many other ways that we could be very, very helpful to Israel if we really wanted them to have the green light to do this.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. As always, Mort Zuckerman and Frank Gaffney. Thank you for helping us. Up next,